What is up, folks? Welcome to The Watch, an Overwatch show for the masses. I am, of course, your host, Another Notch. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Those of you joining us live or watching us on YouTube, welcome and thank you. We do appreciate it. Guys, I'm not alone tonight. Tonight, joining me as always is my co-host, very handsome, super talented, and the best Tracer NA, Shane Gucher. How are you, my friend?
I'm good, man. Just a little footnote. I do not claim to be the best Tracer in North America. Just throwing it out there. But I'm good, man. I finally fought off the nerd flu. I still have a little residual nerd flu in me. I'm at that phase where my body just says, get rid of it. But other than that, I'm good, man. Sick days equal days to stream Overwatch for 12 hours at a time, so I can't complain.
Cannot complain about that at all. But guys, we are not alone. Joining us tonight, it's our very first, very special guest, AskJoshy. Welcome to the show, my friend. How are you tonight?
Hi there. I'm doing good. Just had an easy day today going to the DMV and then getting some work done. I streamed a little bit of Overwatch in prep for the show, and now we're here.
Well,
DMV was fine.
DMV is never fine. It's always a mess. You know it is. The last time I went to the DMV, I waited for 3.5 hours and was told I have to come back in 2 weeks.
Hey, I have to do that.
Yes.
But I only had to wait 20 minutes to be told to come back in 2 weeks.
Well, 20 minutes is better than 3.5 hours. Yeah. That's not too bad.
We have appointments here, so it's great.
Oh, what is that? Appointments at the DMV?
Yeah. You sign up online, pick a time. They're usually like 2 or 3 weeks out, but you can pick your times.
It's like the future.
Yeah.
It's like the future.
Reservations, amazing technology.
So, Joshy, what have you been up to this week in Overwatch? We're going to jump into who you are here in a little bit. But how has your week in Overwatch been? I know you've been in the beta for quite a while. How was your week in Overwatch?
Yeah, I got in on day 2. This week has been a lot of fun. I'm actually learning, I tend to play characters really intensely until I get the hang of them, and right now I'm focusing on Tracer on attack and Mei on defense. And I gotta say, Mei is a ton of fun, and Tracer is super powerful, so I'm gonna keep playing them probably a long time.
Mei is one of my favorite defense characters in the game. I'm not much of a defense player. I definitely like my warriors, but Mei, oh my god, a good Mei on my team. She just clutch. Can save so many capture points. And
you can headshot with the ice spike, and it's like the most satisfying thing in the world.
I saw your tweet today. I saw the Tracer headshot, and I was like, no, he did not. That was fantastic.
Hitting Pharahs is a lot of fun, too, because they don't expect it at all.
No, not at all. So, Gooch, what have you been up to, my friend? I know you've been playing a lot as well.
Yeah, man, just since I've been taking advantage of my sick days, I've been streaming a whole bunch. I have been playing a lot of Pharah, trying to get better at Pharah. I haven't played like a rocket weapon since like Quake 2.
Right.
So it's been quite some time. So I'm getting acclimated to how you lead shots and whatnot and stuff like that. But I'm starting to get the hang of Pharah, and she's just overall really, really strong in almost like every position. Yeah. Unless there's a good Widowmaker or McCree on the other team, and then your life can be a living nightmare. Or even some really, really good Hanzo as well. But it's been a lot of fun. And just really been getting my Pharah, sharpening up my Pharah skills.
Yeah, I'm stuck on Reinhardt. Reinhardt and Winston, man. Those are like my two. I am a huge fan of Reinhardt. He is, me personally, I feel like he's one of the best warriors in the game. I love everything he brings to the game on defense or on offense. But Winston, he's a fantastic hero as well. Can really shut down stupid turrets. Stupid turrets, dumb rooms. Shouldn't be there. But so far it's been a good week. We do have some news to cover this week, guys. I know some of you guys saw it, so we're going to jump into I've changed the show a little bit. I've added show notes, people watching, all this behind-the-scenes magic here. We've got show notes. I've got news segments. This one's titled News Watch because of Overwatch. You guys get it?
Yeah. You clever sumbitch.
So, guys, in the News Watch, we're going to talk about this very interesting patch that was out for about 15 minutes, and then
all
Blizzard
of 15
said,
minutes.
we're not doing this anymore. Torbjorn was buffed. He was buffed. He was able to create level 3 turrets with 200 scrap.
100. Or 200.
It was 200. So Torbjorn's level 3
right.
turret now has 700 health, up from 600. Turret upgrades cost half as much scrap, allowing him to have a tier 3 turret right away, and his turret feels like it did less damage, but nobody was really sure of that because it was only a 15-minute patch. So, Joshy, Were you there when the patch went live, or were you not playing?
No, I actually logged in, I think, right as they reverted it. People were talking about the changes, and then I tried them out, and they were not there anymore. So I missed Torb's golden hour.
His 15 minutes of fame, man. Literally.
Exactly.
Gooch, I know you were logged in, so tell us about that 15 minutes of just level 3 turrets from the start of the game.
Yeah.
Which is absurd.
Well, so I was streaming, and all of the like 10, 15 people in my stream, and I was just having a good time and hanging out, and the server went down for like, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and got back in the game. I'm like, okay, just queued right back up, and all of a sudden I'm like, why are there so many people playing Torbjorn all of a sudden? Like on like attack, defense, everything. I'm like, there's so many Torbjorns, and my next question I'm asking myself is, why is there a level 3 turret on my control point as defense? Like, what is for the enemy team putting level 3 turrets all of a sudden, like right outside my spawn and stuff like that?
Yeah, that's scary.
And I literally at first I thought someone was hacking, because that's always the go-to thing, of course. No, I'm kidding.
No,
But
it is,
I was very confused. I was very
you're a
confused.
gamer, they're
at
doing
first.
something wrong.
I was very confused at first. But then obviously I asked chat and my chat, my stream chat, and they informed me as well as they could, and I was like, oh. And then 15 minutes later, it was reverted. So my question is, was that intentional, or was that like a knee-jerk reaction to, oh my gosh, this was a terrible idea? Well, I feel like Blizzard usually has a little bit better foresight when it comes to, I don't know, maybe they don't, but it feels like that was, I mean, do you guys know if that was intentional or not for them to do that?
They spoke to it actually and said that they've been fooling around with Torb a lot, obviously, since the video came out saying they were reworking Torb and Bastion. I want to say it was Jeff Kaplan himself, but someone definitely said, we're iterating a lot. This push was not meant to include those changes, so that's why they reverted it.
Yeah, Jeff Kaplan actually posted on the forums, changes to Torbjorn were unintended and are now being backed out. We're working on him internally and doing a lot of experiments with him. Some partial changes went live, but we reverted them. So there are some changes coming to Torb, which is good to know. That being said, AskJoshy, we'll start with you. Torbjorn is kind of a different character. I would say slightly underpowered character. Just my personal thoughts. Do you feel like there's any changes that you would like to see come to Torbjorn's kit, or to some of his abilities to make him a little bit stronger?
So obviously I see the double-edged sword of the turret characters, Bastion and Torb, where they probably just wreck new players a little too hard. And that is going to be the most difficult part to balance for Blizzard, because at the top end you can just tweak numbers until he's in line with everyone else. But if he is just an absolute murder machine at lower levels, then that's not good for them either. So I feel like right now, the last few days I've actually been playing Torb on defense and occasionally on offense on full payload maps, because on full payload maps I feel like you can actually kind of force people back off of you just by dropping level 1 turret after level 1 turret and kind of playing the ground game with him, with your tank and like Lucio, for example.
Right.
And the level 1 turret has, whatever, 250, 275 health, whatever it is. But it's such a magnet for fire that you're essentially just buying time for your team. He almost plays like a Mei, where it's just like, oh, we have to get rid of that thing no matter what it's doing, even if it's doing nothing.
Right.
So he's kind of interesting in that way. I've had success just playing him in this style, where you only drop armor packs constantly, you only drop level 1 turrets, and if someone is starting to hit you, you drop the level 1 turret and try and run, so that they either kill you and then deal with the turret, or they get drawn to the turret and distract long enough for you to get away. But dropping tons of armor packs is great for so many characters, like Zenyatta and Symmetra. Like any squishy healers with armor packs are much better. Tanks are much better. Like Roadhog with armor is even scarier than normal Roadhog.
Right.
So if you play him as just a mobile armor dispensary and play him as almost a turret himself, I feel like it's a lot more fun. It's a lot more active, and you're less prone to just sitting there swinging your hammer and having Tracer dump bombs on you constantly, or Reaper just showing up constantly. So there are alternative ways to play him that I feel like can still be explored. His gun does 50 damage a shot too, and it's fairly accurate. So I've just been having fun to see how many eliminations I can get on him on defense, but I think he hasn't been fully explored yet at the top end, but at the bottom end it's scary to make him much better.
Right.
Absolutely.
Now, Gooch, I know you have some thoughts on ways to make him a little bit better. What do you think could be done to kind of help? We won't use the word balance, but bring him up a little bit instead of just being a a turret dump in defense.
One thing I think that would fall really well in line, and there's the thing to take into consideration before I say this is it would really mess with his whole design with scrap and everything, is maybe make armor not cost scrap. I mean, obviously, you guys give your input on this, but I feel like I mean, I hate making these direct comparisons, but it's kind of hard not to when you look at Symmetra, who has a shield for free and a 2-second cooldown that regens, versus Torbjorn's armor, which is the same amount. I mean, it's 50, but I know armor mitigates damage differently than shields do. But it costs scrap, and I feel like maybe if they just gave that to him, where armor didn't cost scrap, but at the same time, then you're messing with the whole scrap design of the hero, and then scrap is literally very one-sided. There's no thinking, it's just turret. So that would be the downside to it. Right. And one thing I would like to see, and this comes from TF2, is maybe make him so he can move his turret around. And again, that in the context of Overwatch is much different than when thinking about TF2. The games are very different, but just kind of taking ideas. Obviously, they're very parallel with each other. I think that may be something they can be messed with. There would obviously have to be certain things they'd have to balance with it, but I think it would improve his I hate saying this, but it's true, maybe his skill cap a little bit, and at the same time give him a little bit more dynamic play style other than what Joshy was talking about, just smacking a turret and getting dumped on by tracers.
Yeah.
So before I say that, a good Torbjorn can kill a tracer pretty easily out in the open if he has that good aim, because his right click actually does a stupid. Both his weapon does a. It's easy to underestimate the damage he does, especially in Molten Core.
Yeah. So that was not the only news we have this week, guys. We also had more in-depth beta test weekend stats. They broke down for us. There was a total of 350,000 plus games played. Average match length was 8 minutes and 6 seconds. Highest win rate for offense was Soldier 76. Tank was D.Va. Defense was Torbjorn. And support was still Symmetra. This is the second time we've seen Symmetra be on the highest win rate when it comes to support characters. I know we played a lot this weekend. AskJoshy, you played a lot as well. How did you feel the test weekend went? I know I had some issues with matchmaking, but overall, how did you feel that test weekend went? It seemed like everybody was playing over the test weekend.
Yeah, test weekend was good. It was nice to have an infusion of like new blood, and I know that a lot of people got their permanent invites that same time that are still playing now. So good to see some new people in, and definitely nice for like all the people on Twitch and Reddit who've been just itching to play. Finally got some hands on with it. So I'm glad that they at least got to expand their reach a little bit and let more people in. As far as matchmaking, I think it was good. I didn't feel like I ever had to wait at all. Just got into matches constantly, and that's always nice, because sometimes now it's already back to occasionally it'll kick me out of a lobby and it'll be 2 or 3 minutes before I get into a new one. But yeah, overall, I think it was great. I hope they do more.
Gooch, are you surprised by average match length or any of these highest win rate characters? I know, again, you've played quite a bit. 8 minutes seems to be the norm, and it kind of stuck when we went into the weekend. Were you surprised by that, or did you expect games to go a little bit longer?
I think obviously when it comes to averages, I don't think it's striking or anything like that. And kind of touching on how Torbjorn was the highest in defense, that really speaks volumes to what AskJoshy was talking about, where at the lower end, he's like, can be really frustrating, like the Bastion and the turret and whatnot. So that's and obviously with these numbers are skewed towards that sort of the new players who are not well adjusted to the game yet because they only got to play for 3 days. So that kind of just I'm not surprised to see Torbjorn as the highest win rate in defense at all. Soldier 76 is not a surprise at all. He's the kind of run of the mill first person shooter type of hero. The thing that surprises me the most, I don't know, maybe you guys can inform me a little bit more, is the Symmetra support. It seems like a lot of people wouldn't gravitate to Symmetra as much as the other supports. I mean, don't get me wrong, she's a great support. She's freaking amazing and really frustrating to deal with sometimes, but that was the only surprising thing, was the Symmetra with the highest win rate. And I guess that's just maybe because people didn't know how to deal with teleporters or kept running into rooms full of turrets, or I'm not sure.
I have a thought on that, and it actually is in line with what you're saying, which is not that many people used her, most likely, and the ones that did made teleporters that the newer players did not know how to deal with effectively, or you know what I mean, like placing a teleporter with a nest all around it is very similar to the Bastion and Torb style, where it's like you turn a corner and you don't know what to do and you die. I feel like Symmetra, less play and higher win rate is the result, is my thought on it.
That's a good point. Absolutely, yeah.
They even mentioned her at BlizzCon as being the highest win rate support, which I think shocked a lot of people. But she's kind of stuck around that highest win rate as a support character. And for me, I feel like Mercy or Lucio are probably... They're definitely much higher skill cap than Symmetra is, but I feel like those two should be towards the top of the list. Mercy just does so much. A well-timed res can win a match in overtime, or it can save a match and push you farther into overtime. Symmetra, Soldier 76. Symmetra's fun. Soldier 76 is fun, but for me personally, they feel kind of bland. They feel just... Soldier 76 is your standard first-person shooter. He's got a sprint, he's got a heal, he's got a auto-aim, if you will, for his ultimate, and an auto-rifle. He's not a terrible character, but...
Yeah, he's actually, like... getting rid of the fact that he's, everyone always says he's the COD character and whatnot. He's really good.
Yeah.
Like, he's still really, really good nonetheless. It's not like he's not very... His healing... can sustain a team. His ultimate, when used appropriately, is just very, very deadly. And I'm, again, not surprised to see that at all. I want to touch on this a little bit. This is a little impromptu, if you guys are okay with this. Talk about Symmetra, maybe in the higher echelons of play right now, which obviously Overwatch is early in development. The competitive scene is still being developed and whatnot. But I've been watching a lot of scrims. Joshy, I know you've been casting tournaments and whatnot. I mean, do you think that Symmetra has potential to make her way into the competitive scene? Is she, maybe the teams haven't adapted to her style yet, haven't practiced enough with her, or is it a flaw in her design as a whole?
Oh, you're muted. I think you're muted, Joshy.
You're right. So the King of the Watch was the 3 BO3s between Not Enigma and Hubris on Saturday that I cast.
Which was awesome.
It was like 16 rounds.
Yeah, dude, it was so good.
nobody picked Symmetra a single time. But I have a feeling that on capture point maps, she could be kind of a staple. Ours were all payload, but on capture point maps, it's a lot safer to use her for point A defense, because you can essentially, if you do get enough ultimate to actually drop a teleporter, that's going to help you immensely defending a first capture point on any map. And then if you lose A, you just switch, and that's that. You switch to someone more useful for the situation where you don't need to teleport 10 feet out of your spawn. So I feel like that is more her specific spot where she could be more useful than another support. But otherwise, Mercy and Lucio are the two supports that you essentially have to have. The speed boost to get back might even be a greater net effect than actually having a teleporter get all of its charges, because teleporters really you can also drop and they can be killed, and your ultimate did nothing. So I feel like Lucio and Mercy just are ridiculously strong in comparison. Symmetra does have a niche possible for her, though.
Yeah, I feel like I would like to see her more. I love her shield ability. Her turrets are a pain in the butt if you don't have a teammates that can counter those. I want to see her come up. I'd love to see her more in competitive play. The matches over the weekend, we do see a lot of Mercy gameplay when it comes to support, but I think it's just because that res is so clutch. In a lot of situations.
It's insane.
There's so many heroes, though, that this game has 21 heroes, and there's I want to say, I'm not a fan of Torb, so I'm going to put Torb way down towards the bottom of the list. But there's, a set group of heroes that are super solid that really may need some down tweaking. There's other heroes that need to be brought up, but again, we are early in development. I'd love to see some of these characters we didn't see in the tournament. Symmetra is especially one of them, because I've had plenty of games where Symmetra's the play of the game, where she's just destroying people. They're not knowing how to deal with her cannons. They don't deal with the placement of her teleporter well, and just destroys that way. So I feel like she's a character that could definitely be one of the top played support characters in the game as we get into more of a structured rank system than what we're currently seeing now. But guys, that is all all of the news this week. We're going to jump into our next segment here, and we're actually going to get to know Ask Joshy. For those of you who have not been watching Twitch, for those of you who have not watched any of the Overwatch tournaments,
or IPL.
Or IPL. Ask Joshy is kind of a face in Overwatch. He's done a lot of casting for us. So what we're going to do now, guys, is we're going to give you a behind-the-scenes sneak peek of Ask Joshy. So I'm going to start off with some questions here.
Wow.
I want to talk
what
about...
a name.
I want to talk about your background in gaming. What got you into the industry? How long have you been creating content? And what's your favorite game of all time?
Ooh.
Okay, so starting off, I guess what got me into the industry was playing Blizzard games my whole life, technically. But by the time StarCraft 2 came out in 2010, I got in on the first day of the beta, and the job that I was doing at the time involved using video editing software and making YouTube videos for that company. So when the game came out, I was just like, all right, I already have this channel. I decided to make a personal channel during that time and just tossed up a bunch of stuff. So AskJoshy was actually I made a channel. I didn't know what to put on it. So my thought was I'll just have people ask me questions and then I'll make like funny retorts or skits or I don't know, shorts, something like that. And StarCraft 2 came out and I said, screw that idea, I'll just do StarCraft 2. So I made videos of like all the new units and stuff like that, did commentaries and on my own gameplay, and people eventually were asking, hey, we like your voice, you speak very clearly, you know a lot about the game, can you cast this replay or that replay or my replay or whatever it is? And I was like, all right, sure, I'll try it. I did not know that, Brood War had the scene that it did in Korea and that there were actually full-time commentators and stuff like that. I had some radio experience and some video editing experience, and that basically just all came together in the form of the AskJoshy YouTube channel. So I went on Team Liquid and grabbed a bunch of replays from tournaments. Streaming was not a thing back then. It was very, very early. Ustream and Livestream were the only services available, and no one really had the machines or internet connections to do it. So DreamHack and IEM and all these, they would just release replay packs. I would local record, local cast a bunch of games that never were seen, and that's how I got to about 55,000 subs within the first year. And in that time, Machinima partnered me on YouTube, so I was making some money. Complexity Gaming saw that I was going to events and interviewing players, and they signed me for 2011 to be kind of their content guy for live events, so they flew me to all the MLGs that year and BlizzCon. IPL started in the middle of 2011, so I applied to be their social media manager and backup StarCraft 2 caster behind HD StarCraft, Pain User, and Kevin Naki. I got to do a fair bit of casting for StarCraft, and I was also like the community and social media guy, so any daily broadcasts, I would do all the news posts and stuff like that. I would manage the Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and then we grew, and then, we got a League of Legends division, and suddenly my workload changed into managing 2 channels of everything, and then it changed again when Ubisoft had a new title called Shoot Mania, and Shoot Mania basically needed people to work on it. I was just a backup caster, so they said, Josh, do you play FPS? I actually did play Unreal Tournament for 2 years competitively in 2001 and 2002, but I was like a teenager then. Now, at this point I'm in like 25, 26, so I'm like, I played 10 years ago, but let's do it. So Shoot Mania had a bunch of money behind it with Ubisoft and IGN, so lots of Quake players and TF2 players and whatnot came out of the woodwork to try and win some money, and they only needed teams of 3, so I met a lot of just really incredibly good players. Rafa, Sturmy, like top tier Quake players of all time were playing Shoot Mania for the exposure and the chance at some cash, and it was a Twitch type shooter, so mostly Quake guys. But now with Overwatch coming out, they're coming flooding back, and I've already got that connection with a lot of them, so that's great. IPL did get bought by Ziff Davis, or IGN was bought by Ziff Davis, and they sold IPL's equipment and assets to Blizzard, actually, and Blizzard ended up hiring something like 25 of the 30 plus staff that we had, and I became an esports manager at Blizzard. And the first year, basically what that meant was running WCS. WCS was in the hands of MLG, and then they were like, we don't want it anymore, and it went to NASL, and we ran part of it ourselves as Blizzard, so lots of crazy stuff happened that year. Eventually things settled down. 2014 was mostly prepping BlizzCon. Heroes of the Storm exhibitions were mostly my doing, and the Hearthstone Innkeepers Invitational that Artosis won in 2013, I organized and executed that one. Heroes of the Dorm this year, I got to help on and do a lot of work with the talent. I was the talent manager, so Grubby and Artosis and Tasteless and Day 9, all those guys, and the rehearsals were a lot of fun. But I left Blizzard in June of this year, and since then I've just been applying for whatever esports roles come up. I've actually got I interviewed at a place 4 weeks ago, so any day now it's I'll
Valve.
get the yes or no, but
It's Valve.
it's for an esports position.
I'm just kidding.
So yeah, just waiting, and in the meantime, I figure I'll fire up the YouTube and the Twitch again. It's been basically 4 years since I've had enough time to devote to it, so
Right.
my YouTube's down to about 44,000 subs. Twitch, I'm basically building from scratch, but I've gone from I think 800 followers to nearly 3,100 in the like 5 months or so since leaving Blizzard.
Very
So
nice.
I'm having a lot of fun growing again. It is great.
And so Blizzard has definitely helped a lot of people out. I think Blizzard for, I got to do Heroes of the Dorm and the Nexus, the launch of Heroes of the Storm. That's kind of where I got started, was with Heroes of the Storm. Such a fun game. That Heroes of the Dorm event was fantastic. But Blizzard seems to have helped a lot of people in the gaming industry definitely get a foot in the door and branch out. So you've been in, like you said, day 2 of the Overwatch beta. What are your initial thoughts on Overwatch? Do you feel like there should be any changes? Do you feel like so far pacing of patches has been steady? Do you feel like we should get patches a little bit sooner? What do you want to see come to the game in the next coming months before the game launches?
Besides the kill feed.
Well, yeah. So that's obviously the missing features are kind of that's about it. Like
Right.
the game is so good.
Right.
I think that the capture point maps could use perhaps a mechanic change. Something that I've seen suggested a lot is when you capture point A, you basically reset instead of having everyone basically where they are and having dead people trying to run back and trickling back. Essentially, you capture A and then it shoves you back into your spawns, and maybe there's a second countdown
Right.
for like part 2 of the map. So I have seen that suggested. I'm not sure if that's a real solution or not, but there already is an equivalent in let's say King's Row, where you capture point A and it takes a literal 10 seconds before that thing actually comes out of the garage,
Right.
and that gives defenders time to run back to the point. I feel like that could easily be worked into some mechanic like that could be worked into the capture point maps, because the problem right now feels like if they do wipe a team at capture point A, offense will generally have lots of ultimates available, while B, the defense team, they'll be spawning with nothing. And
Right.
essentially, if they are trickling back to try and save A and they get mowed down, it makes it even harder to actually cap B. So some kind of reset invulnerability, I don't know what it is, but essentially stretch the game out a little bit during that transition from A to B could help those maps a lot. Right now, it's either a really fast stomp or point B just holds for 8 minutes. Like point A is almost
Yeah.
always a foregone conclusion on
Right.
every map.
What I like to call the proverbial overtime shitstorm. Yeah.
So we talked about things you would change here. So you actually have been very lucky. You got to cast the first tournament. I know Gooch did some casting for there as well. You got to cast this weekend. I'm going to use the word meta, and I've gotten crap for using the word meta before because we're so early in development. But do you feel like there's a meta forming, or certain heroes that you're constantly seeing 100% of the time being picked in these tournaments, and maybe some of them that need to be reworked a little bit so they're not as strong, or to bring other characters up that we see more, so we see them more often?
Okay, so but going just on the first month of beta, essentially, which obviously is not a ton of time.
Right.
Saturday, I did see what I called, I think during the cast, the fearsome foursome, which is Lucio and Mercy, Reinhardt and Pharah. So they were used on offense and defense every single game.
Yeah.
Mirror matches essentially,
Right.
with those 4 characters, because Lucio and Reinhardt is such an effective ground combo for payload, and Mercy Pharah is such an effective air combo that you essentially need to counter it with the same.
Exactly.
They're such strong tandems that it essentially forces your hand. And then the last 2 spots are almost always a tank and a assault of some kind. So they're rotating a lot more. It could be Zarya, could be Winston, could be Roadhog. The assault could be Reaper or Tracer or Genji even, but essentially it's always those 4 plus a tank and a damage.
Right.
Pharah, I asked Tailspin during the interview after that show match, is Pharah the problem? Is Sky Control so valuable, and the fact that other characters have to play differently, and to deal with her that you have to counter with your own Pharah. Do you have to counter with your own Pharah? Because they nerfed McCree, his damage falls off. He's much worse at picking off Pharah than he used to be. Soldier's still okay. Widowmaker's damage fell off. So I mean, they're nerfing all the counters to Pharah except for Pharah.
Right.
So
yeah, right.
it's tough. Yeah, that's probably, I would say Lucio is like so incredibly valuable that you could get away without having a Mercy, but without a Lucio, I don't know what you're doing because you're depriving your team of so much just passive healing and passive speed boost, and his ultimate is insanely good.
Yes.
Like the overheal is ridiculous when you've got, let's say, a Winston. A Winston goes down to like 10 health. He gets the sound barrier. Suddenly he's at 510 health. He gets enough, damage into ult. Now he's got 1,000 more health. Like.
Right.
Sound barrier is just such an incredible ult, and the fact is, the difference between sound barrier and Mercy's res is that players will continue to do damage and move while getting sound barrier. There's never that pause where there's downtime and they can just focus, they can just turn on you and shoot away. You're just constantly moving still. So the damage output and the health that it provides are just insane, and Lucio is probably the strongest character in the game if I had to pick one.
Are there any characters that you want to see, I'm using reworked or tweaked, or are there any characters you'd like to see buffed to come up a little bit in gameplay, or a particular character that you're just fond of that you want to see more of in high-ranked gameplay?
I actually really liked all the changes that they made, like McCree and Widowmaker I mentioned, both did feel kind of oppressive. That was more or less before the new 3 characters, Genji, D.Va, and Mei, were announced. Genji and D.Va changed the game so drastically with their defense matrix and deflect that they totally bring everyone else in line. It's almost like a universal nerf to everyone when you've got those characters in play, and they're very popular characters. D.Va is a wonderful harass tank, and Genji is a wonderful harass assault. So they're both always in your face, always deflecting or absorbing, and I feel like no one is really a problem, but I don't know who I would bring up. I feel like I do see pretty much everybody still. I know who I have problems playing, but I still get wrecked by every character occasionally. Like Hanzo. Hanzo's a character that sometimes I'll get 20 kills with scatter arrows, and sometimes I can't hit anything because the other players are just, they know what they're doing. But I get wrecked by Hanzo all the time, so I can't say that I want to buff him.
A good Hanzo is so frustrating to play against. It's so frustrating.
I feel like everybody's in a pretty good spot. I'm not really sure who I would buff at this point. Right.
Now we are, again, guys, those of you watching, what is this guy, why is he asking these questions? I know we're only like a month in. I know it's early on, but we've put a lot of time in the game, and they're just questions. We're just spurring conversation here, folks. Gooch, do you have any questions for AskJoshy here? I know you're big into the casting. Do we have any more esports related or anything you would like to ask?
Josh, your personal opinion on the outlook of the game given its current, how it's looking, basically. I had a little brain fart there, but as far as esports, its potential in esports, its potential as a cross-platform title and all that stuff. Is this going to be a game that has a lot of future in it? And again, these are hard things to predict because we've only been playing the game for months, guys. We're just kind of creating dialogue and conversations and whatnot. But what is your opinion on that right now, given what you have experienced thus far?
So first I'll ask, do you guys know the figure on how many beta signups there were? Was it 6 million?
I think it was like 6+ million, yeah.
Yeah,
you're talking about at BlizzCon, right? For last year or overall?
Yeah, they gave a stat this year for how many beta signups there were.
I thought it was 6.5. Sure. It was up there.
So the fact that it's in the millions, 6.5 million is a lot of freaking players. I know World of Warcraft has about that many active subs or something like that, but World of Warcraft's one of the most played games of all time. So if it's 6 million or 7 million, Heroes was also in line with that, where it was like 8 or 9 million before release, but their beta was like a year long. So yeah, there's millions of people who want to play it and can't yet. We're right now in the beta with something like 50,000 or less people. So it's insane.
Another thing to take into consideration is I don't think that includes your console gamers as well, who are obviously wanting to get their hands on it.
Yeah, console. So I feel like
that's another
it'll
thing
be a fine console
that'll add
game.
even more. Yeah.
So something that's working against Overwatch currently is the size of teams. 6v6 is 12 individuals that you've got to have in any one match. That's 6 sets of peripherals on each side that could malfunction. That's like travel costs are insane.
Yeah.
You've got to have team cohesion. There were 3-player teams from Shootmania that didn't last a month. Like having everyone happy all the time, and having dedicated roles where it's like, yeah, I'm happy playing the support all the time forever. You go ahead and get all the kills, Seagull, on Pharah, and I'll just sit here and heal you forever and ever. I feel like it's never going to be a perfect world on any team with 6 players, but it's also incredibly hard to watch because of the fact that you've got, let's say there are 4 divas in a game, because that happens sometimes. There's 2 on the red attacking team,
Yes.
2 on the blue defending team, and there's just explosions happening constantly. You have no idea who's popping the ults, who's actually getting kills. Like right now, the watchability is terrible. Unless you're seeing it for the first time and you just like all the pretty explosions. Once you're past the pretty explosions, it's like I don't know what's happening anymore. Like I see the things happening and I still don't know what's happening. So that can be really frustrating. One big example was Fishsticks and I were casting the Fishsticks Invitational. There was a Zarya ult and a Pharah ult onto it, and everyone died. And we were like, holy shit, that's amazing. Play of the game. And then play of the game actually comes up and it's like McCree. And it's like, what? What did McCree do? That was better than that. Oh, McCree actually dead-eyed and killed all those people in the Zarya ult. The Pharah ult didn't do any damage at all. So it's like, shit, we completely missed that in the match.
Dude.
We had no idea that McCree even was there.
So as someone who's commentated and as somebody who's run these events, do you feel like the what's the word I'm looking for? Just had a brain fart myself. The spectating system. No,
Yeah.
the spectating system. Do you think that needs to be better on
Spectator client.
for your guys' end, so you're able to really lock down the action and show what's going on? Do you think there needs to be changes done to the spectator client?
Yeah, so the first, let's say 3 things that come to mind. The first is a kill feed so that you can actually verify. It doesn't even need to be showing all the time. If I can hit tab or alt tab, or maybe not alt tab, I guess, some key combination. Some key combination that I can look at and see who killed who. That's all I need, because it doesn't need to be on the screen all the time. Obviously, people want that, but if I can reference it at least in the aftermath of a big battle, that would be useful. The next is having some first-person UI spectating, because if I'm watching a tracer and someone's watching the stream and let's say they have the audio off or whatever, they don't know what they're watching. They don't know if they're watching an attacker or a defender because there's no coloring. There's no coloring. There's no name at the top saying this is Clockwork playing Tracer, and you have to know that Clockwork is on the attacking team. Like it should say Tracer, attacker, Clockwork, maybe even KDR up there in the first person view, but
yeah, absolutely.
something to help you just have any information other than I know that I'm watching a Tracer.
Okay.
And then the third thing would be I would love to be able to bookmark the free cam to different places, because that currently is kind of a pain in the butt when you've got to. The way that I was spectating on Saturday was I would take a first-person view of an attacker always, because they're generally the ones driving the action. They're the ones more likely to get kills and all that. And once I've seen a checkpoint accomplished, I'll move the free cam. I'll go back to wherever it was, push it along. But I'm missing so much during all that time. And even though you can hit shift and speed it up, it's still just awkward to try and like get it all set up in the heat of the moment. And maybe they took the checkpoint already and they're halfway to the next one. I missed all of it. I don't know who killed who, and suddenly it's like I'm missing just so much information. And being able to, once the defense is like running out on the map, if I can just fly with them, F1, F2, F3 along the way or something like that, and then I know that a checkpoint got hit, and I can just hit that bookmarked camera wherever it is. I know that it's going to be a good view. That'll be really cool. And they have that for StarCraft, where you can save little shortcuts for different areas of the map. So I don't see why it shouldn't be possible in Overwatch as well.
Right. Especially on a new engine, a little bit more advanced than the StarCraft engine. Absolutely.
With all that being said, another thing I would really like to see is replays. But I think that's that's a discussion for another day. But I'm sure that's something later down the line. But replays would also be nice. But we'll talk about that at a different time.
So one more question, then we'll jump into our next segment here. Who is your favorite hero in game? Who is your hero if you're on tilt, or you want to just get the most amount of kills? Who are you going to pick to achieve that goal?
For me, it's Reaper. Reaper is just the fail-safe Anytime a choke is, not moving at all, I know that I can teleport behind it and shoot someone in the back and help out.
Yeah.
That's basically he's like Drano for. But yeah, I can always rely on Reaper because I know that he's got teleportation and invulnerability, and it turns out both of those are good in FPS games.
Yep. So that actually leads us directly into our next segment, guys. This week we're doing a new segment called The Rundown, and we're going to be covering Ask Joshy's favorite character. We're going to be covering Reaper. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a quick overview. And guys, this is like, I just decided to do this tonight, so I don't have any neat graphics. I don't have any visuals. We're working on it, guys. But so what we're going to do is we're going to cover the Reaper. He has his main ability, of course, is his Hellfire shotguns, very close range, high damage. I found myself unable to aim shotguns in this game for some reason.
Sometimes I'll run up on somebody and miss every single shot still, so don't worry about that.
He also has his Wraith form ability where he becomes a shadow for a short period of time. He takes no damage in this form. He's able to pass through enemies, but he cannot fire his weapons or use other abilities. And then, of course, his third ability is Shadow Step. He can teleport to a new destination. He disappears from current and reappears at the new location. And then, of course, his ultimate ability, which gets so many cues of the game, Death Blossom.
Cues of the game.
Cues of the game. He empties both Hellfire shotguns at breakneck speed, dealing massive damage to all nearby enemies. Now, for those of you who have not played the game or have not watched any streams, Reaper for me is definitely one of the... he's one of the funnest heroes in the game personally. I know, Ask Josh, you can play him a lot. What are some pros for this hero? Where do you think he excels? What's the best way to use this hero, either offensively or defensively?
Okay, so offensively, he's huge, especially, I would say, on capture point maps, because A, Death Blossom, and B, you can always know where the defense is posted up to teleport behind them. So I'll just give an example. Anubis is a great map for Reaper to attack on. Essentially, you can teleport through the arch that everyone defends through. Everyone's shooting, tons and tons of bullets through that arch. You literally can just teleport from the side into a cubby somewhere. You take a few seconds to gauge where everyone's at before you go in. You never really want to go in blind. But even if you do, let's say you teleport in and someone turns on you immediately, you hit shift, and for a few seconds you can go faster than anyone. You can turn a corner and sit there with your shotguns. Like it's basically you break through their chokes so quickly that it usually drags 1 or 2, 3 people with you, and then it opens up the door for the rest of your team to march through that kill hallway. So that's just point A. Point B, you can teleport onto the left side and go through the little cave, or you can teleport onto the right side all the way to the point behind everybody. If there's a bastion set up, you literally teleport, Wraith walk behind him, shoot him 3 times, he's dead. If you have your ultimate, you can actually you can teleport up onto the stand. There's like a little sniper perch right above point B. Teleport up there, Death Blossom on the way down, take the point every time. Like they have to watch so many angles for you specifically that they can't deal with you and the 5 other players on your team ever. So I find him incredibly useful for capturing, and even payloads. Payloads still, you have the liberty as Reaper to move ahead of your team, teleport into any of the various rooms. I'm thinking of like Numbani, Dorado. These are all great maps for Reaper, where you just teleport into a little room with a health pack, wait for somebody, or if you've got a target in mind, a Zenyatta will die in 2 shots. Hanzos and Widowmakers are usually scoped and focusing on someone far away, so if you get near them at all, you're going to get the free kills. And Death Blossom, you can literally Wraith walk onto a payload, jump off the payload and Death Blossom, and just get all into their back line and kill everybody. So he's just incredibly good for taking out backline characters and healers. Those should be the priority. But even against tanks, tanks, Reaper is still good. He does a bajillion damage per shot to huge targets like Winston and Roadhog. So if you can ever get behind them as well and get the first few shots off, you're going to kill him. Reinhardt, even if he's got his shield up, you can Wraith walk through his shield. You can even walk into his face. If he won't drop the shield, you walk literally into his face, shoot him in the face. It's just... Yeah, but that's a little riskier, obviously, because if he does swing his hammer at you, the rest of your team can collapse on him. But you gotta pick your battles, of course. But yeah, he's so good against squishies, so good against tanks, and he can teleport and go invulnerable. That's like he's God
That's
character.
huge. Yeah.
I feel like
Go ahead.
I feel like the phrase "shoot him in the face" just is a great sum up of what everything he said there. Just shoot him in the face.
And that's Reaper's like tagline. Reaper, shoot him in the face.
What do you feel some of his cons are? I know his range is kind of lacking, but he's got shotguns, so that's expected. But what do you feel some of his cons are? Do you feel like I see a lot of really, really hardcore offensive Reapers that just get decimated, and I don't feel like they're doing anything with their team. But what are his cons? What are Reaper's cons?
I'll say that Pharah, good Pharahs will definitely be much harder to work around as a Reaper. If you are teleporting and taking out backline characters, you're rarely going to catch that Pharah who's just taking off into the sky,
Right.
because I think when they take off, you're doing essentially like 10 to 15 damage a shot, so it's not worth your time at all when she's dealing 120 to you with body
Right.
shots. So Pharah can be really tough to deal with, and she's a very popular character. Mei also is like Reaper's bane.
Yes.
You get on her and shoot her a few times, and she hits shift. You basically have to Wraith Walk away, or you're going to get frozen to death. Like, it's incredibly hard. I always yell out, prioritize Mei when I'm playing Reaper, because I need other people to deal with her. I can't do anything. So he definitely has his counters too. I would say that Roadhog can be kind of tough, but fortunately for Reaper, he's got Wraith Walk, so even if you do get hooked, you just jam shift while you're in flight to him, basically, and usually you can get away from him too. So he's got very, very few drawbacks, in my opinion. He's got a decent health pool, and he heals anytime he gets a kill for 50 health. So his sustainability is there too. He's just got a really nice full kit for an assault character.
He has the correct me if I'm wrong. He has the biggest health pool of any of the attackers. He has 250.
He does have 250. That is the most.
And then everyone else pretty much has 200.
They're 200 or 150 with Tracer.
Yeah.
You're right.
Do you have any tips or strategies to play this character effectively?
Sure. So aside from what we already talked about,
Right.
which is Death Blossom. Death Blossom is a big one, obviously, for you. That's your huge resource to try and kill multiple people at a time, so you don't want to waste it. The best uses for Death Blossom are to get above enemy teams. So a good example is Gibraltar teleport onto the shuttle and drop down from the shuttle, because Death Blossom is a sphere around Reaper. It's not just horizontal around him. So if you press Q as you're falling, the first 150 damage wave that goes out will hit everybody below you. The second 150 damage wave will hit them by the time they're able to even react, and the third wave usually kills them. So always drop from above with Death Blossom. It even says in the tips, Reapers tend to attack from behind and above because of that. So Death Blossoms, always from above. Teleport, make use of it. Always teleport from out of line of sight to another area that is out of line of sight. You never really want to be exposed. And panic button, shift. Anytime you think you're going to die, just shift away, turn a corner as quickly as you can, and set up. Sometimes if you get around a corner and they turn the corner and chase you, you'll get a couple shots, and sometimes you'll win that fight. But if you are down to 40 health or something like that, or a Pharah shows up unexpectedly, you need to just get out of there. So knowing when to run is very important. Prioritizing, like, ask your teammates who is killing them so that you can deal with them. You're essentially like I said, you want to unblock chokes. So if a sniper is killing everyone on your team, get their position from your teammates and try to deal with it. You're driving the action, and you got to help out. I would say those are probably the top tips.
Okay. Now, I have a question, because I do play a lot of Reaper. With his ability his Shadow Step ability, it is broadcasted where he's going to land. I feel like it's kind of... It's depending on where you're trying to get to. If you're able to get behind the team, awesome. But do you ever feel like the graphic of, hey, I'm about to land right here, do you think it needs to be changed? Do you think it's too much of a setup for the other team to, like, haha, we know where you're coming? How do you feel that should be used effectively? Because I see a lot of people where they jump right in, and it's like all of a sudden there's 3 people on top of this Reaper.
I mean, you do that enough times and you should learn, right?
You should.
You teleport onto the point and they immediately kill you over and over. Maybe you adapt, maybe you don't, maybe switch characters, but I think it's fine. I actually do. I think it's balanced, because if if it's instant and he can just wraith walk immediately, or he can just start shooting immediately, that's going to be way too strong. So
Okay.
I like where it's at. You do have to have that element of stealth a little bit to be effective, and I think that works well with him. So again, like this just goes back to the advice of try not to be seen.
Right.
Always go from out of line of sight to out of line of sight if you can.
And the animation itself has a very loud audio cue.
It announces it
as well.
Reaper's here.
So yeah, like you hear it. It's pretty loud, and it's easy to figure out what's going on when you hear it. You may not know exactly where it is, but it definitely, you kind of go like, oh shit, there's a Reaper in here somewhere.
You get the Metal Gear Solid bling, like
yeah, exactly.
Someone's around me.
Just a box.
So guys, that takes care of our rundown this week. We hope the discussion of Reaper, if you're in the beta, give this hero a try. If you get lucky enough to get into the test weekend, I hope you guys try him out. But guys, that's this episode of The Watch. I want to thank everybody for watching this week's episode. If you guys want to leave us a comment on the show, head over to our Facebook page, facebook.com, The Watchcast. If you want to follow us on Twitter, you guys can also do that. Twitter.com, WatchGamecast. I know they're different. Gooch, where can the wonderful people of the internet find you, my friend?
Well, let me give a little preamble beforehand. Josh, thank you for carrying the show today, man. You were so well-spoken and informative on Overwatch, man. It was an absolute pleasure having you. I just wanted to get that out of the way. That was great. Anyways, you can find me on Twitter at Shane Goocher. You can find me on Twitch at Shane Goocher Gaming, and obviously here at The Watch. But yeah, man, as far as closing thoughts or anything like that, I think Joshy, you're just an informative son of a bitch. You're a handsome son of a bitch, and I'm very glad that you joined the show, man. Thank you so very much.
Oh, I appreciate you guys inviting me on. This game is obviously very small still, so
yes.
Trying to grab up that real estate as any good marketer would. But honestly, like I'll do anything, man. Like I'm not doing anything else, and Overwatch is just so fun. It's the most addicting game I've played in years.
Yeah.
Even more so than Hearthstone. Like League of Legends was a game that I played because friends played. Hearthstone's a game I played because it's cheaper than Magic. But Overwatch is a game that I play because it's so freaking fun and addictive. But thanks very much for having me on. I'll give all my social stuff, I guess.
Yeah, well, where can people find you?
Please, man.
I know you have an interview coming out on Friday, I think, with Fish Sticks, is what we were told. So plug that. Where can people find you on the interwebs?
Okay, guys. So I've been doing streams, obviously, on Twitch basically every day that I can, and I've done 2 marathons already. I did a Pharathon and a Reaper marathon, where I played to 1,000 eliminations in a day for both of those. Reaper was just under 13 hours. Pharah was just over 14 hours, but we were winning so many games that I couldn't get a lot of limbs, if that makes sense. I was getting like 10 to 12 a game instead of 20 with Reaper. But I'm going to do Genji, I think, on Friday. Genji Marathon to 1,000 limbs starting at noon Pacific on twitch.tv/AskJoshy, and I'll be giving away an Overwatch Origins edition as well if anyone is able to tune into that. Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube/AskJoshy are my social. Have a unique enough name that I can get it everywhere. And I would prefer, I guess, that you follow me on Twitter. That's where most of the up to the minute updates and announcements and things will be going. I do have an interview coming out. It's actually with Red Bull Esports on Friday. The Darrett interviewed Fish Sticks and myself about the Fish Sticks Invitational, and we had a nice chat with him, similar to the one today with you guys. So watch out for that, also on Friday. And then this weekend, I'm not doing King of the Watch #2. I have actually handed it off to a good friend. Hopefully they'll be announcing all that stuff today or tomorrow, and we can support that as well. But I'm actually going to be casting the Gosu Gamers North American tournament, at least half of the bracket,
Awesome.
on the weekend. So I'll obviously on Twitter and in my channel, I've got like a little ! cast command that people can type in anytime to see when the next tournament is. So yeah, that's basically it. Twitch and Twitter are what I'm focusing on right now. YouTube is getting all the highlights, and whenever I have some time, I'm gonna try and do some map overviews, character overviews, and my feedback for Blizzard in the form of videos. I might also do one about the spectator controls and stuff like that. But that stuff takes a lot more time, it turns out.
Yes.
I mostly just want to play. So if I'm just playing, I'll turn on the stream. It's a lot easier than making post-produced content. But that's basically it. Yeah, I'm gonna be casting and playing every day until something else comes along.
Sounds good, man. Well, hopefully everybody give him a follow. As for me, guys, you guys can find me on Twitter at NotchPlaysGames. I do stream 6 nights a week on Twitch, twitch.tv/anothernotch. a lot of Heroes of the Storm. If you guys are a lot of Overwatch and Heroes of the Storm. If you guys are Heroes of the Storm fans, you guys can follow my other podcast, Stormcast Show. We do a weekly podcast for Heroes of the Storm. And if you guys missed the live broadcast that we did of this show on Twitch, you guys can find that at youtube.com/anothernotchgaming. That will be posted in the next day or two. But that's it for us, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Ask Joshy, again, thank you so much for being on the show. We will see you guys in-game very, very soon.
If I may.
Oh, go
if
quick.
I may.
Do it. Go.
If I may,
Go.
guys. For those of you hanging out, thank you so very much. The show is a very early iteration. Just wanted to tell that to you guys, and we really want feedback.
Yes.
Give us some feedback, please. Notch and I, this is a new realm for us that we're experimenting with, and we like to think that it's going well thus far. But please, we got thick skin. It's the internet. Do what you guys do best. Give us good feedback. Constructive criticism, whatever it is you want to call it. We have a lot of cool stuff working in the background that, again, I want to talk about, but I'm not going to talk about until it's finished because I don't want to do false hype and all that stuff, which I technically am already doing false hype. Anyways, thank you so much. Hope to really get this thing going in the future. And again, Joshy, you were our first guest host, and you really were I'm so happy that we had you on the show, man. You are a well of knowledge throughout the entire umbrella of esports, with all of your experience and your wisdom. And thank you so much for honoring us as being our first guest.
Don't overdo it. Happy to do it anytime, guys. Anytime.
I'm going to hold you to that.
Sure.
Well, thank you guys so much for watching. You guys have a great one, and we will see you guys next time and in-game.